Hello and welcome to Last Week in AWS. I'm going to be at KubeCon this week, so if you're around, please say hi. I'm giving a talk, I believe on Thursday, but don't quote me on that. Check the agenda. Now let's see what AWS got up to last week in their rush for reInvent. This episode is brought to you by Ona, formerly Gitpod. Are you tired of coding agents pushing your S3 bucket to the wrong AWS account, or having them commit your entire downloads folder because they thought your tax documents were part of the code base, all while using privacy policies that basically say that your customer data deserves a nice vacation on random cloud servers? Introducing Ona, where your coding agents run in isolated sandboxes securely within your own VPC. Ona lets you run agents at scale with workflows, bulk open requests that finally tackle that Java migration that you started in 2019, or automatically fix CVEs when your scans find them. Ona also supports private AI models through Amazon Bedrock that your corporate overlords might even approve of. Head to Ona, that's ONA.com, and get $200 of free credits using the code Screaming in the Cloud, because your laptop wasn't designed to babysit over-caffeinated rogue coding agents with root access. Private Link now supports cross-region connectivity for AWS services, which is genuinely useful for compliance scenarios, but let's not pretend that this couldn't have shipped years ago. Now you get to pay Private Link fees and cross-region data transfer charges. Your network architect is thrilled, your finance team less so. Meanwhile, I'm weeping as I have to yet again update my data transfer calculator. AWS announces new partnership to power OpenAI's AI workloads. Fascinating how AWS suddenly has 500,000 GPUs lying around just when their biggest competitor needs capacity. The $38 billion price tag suggests OpenAI's electricity bill alone could fund a small nation's GDP, but sure, let's call this a partnership instead of what it really is, AWS monetizing Microsoft's AI arms race. Now that they're the last hyperscaler to sign a giant deal with OpenAI, it's a near certainty that the model factory is structurally too big to fail. Prompt engineering with Party Rock, a guide for educators. AWS discovered educators exist and decided that Party Rock, their AI playground that requires users to be over the age of 18, is perfect for K-12 classrooms. The cognitive dissonance is the chef's kiss. At least the guardrails might prevent students from accidentally teaching the AI to write their essays while technically learning prompt engineering. New white paper available, AI for Security for AI. Navigating opportunities and challenges. AWS partnered with SANS to produce a white paper about AI security risks. You know, the ones they're actively profiting from by selling you the AI services that created the risks in the first place. Nothing screams we've got your back, quite like monetizing the problem and the solution. From business logic to working code, how AWS Kiro changes who can build. AWS discovered low-code exists and slapped Bedrock on it. The real innovation here isn't letting Sarah automate her spreadsheet hell. It's convincing enterprises to pay AWS margins instead of buying existing no-code tools. Note that Kiro launched as simply Kiro, but now that it's a hit, AWS can't wait to slap their name on it and enthusiastically hug it to death like the corporate Lenny they've become. CVE a bunch of numbers, CVE a different bunch of numbers, and CVE a third bunch of numbers. Run-C container issues. AWS patched their Run-C vulnerabilities across a dozen services, but here's the kicker. AWS does not consider containers a security boundary. Translation: if you're relying on containers to isolate your stuff, that's a you problem. This episode is sponsored by my own company, the Duckbill Group. Having trouble with your AWS bill? Perhaps it's time to renegotiate a contract with them. Maybe you're just wondering how to predict what's going on in the wide world of AWS. Well, that's where the Duckbill Group comes in to help. Remember, you can't duck the Duckbill bill, which I am reliably informed by my business partner is absolutely not our motto. CloudWatch Application Signals adds AI-powered synthetics debugging. They effectively admit their synthetic monitoring alerts are so cryptic you need an AI to translate them. Instead of fixing the root cause of unclear error messages, they've wrapped it in LLM buzzwords and called it innovation. Your canary's still dead, but now ChatGPT can explain why in excruciating detail. Inside Amazon Connect, the evolution of a disruptor. AWS hits $1 billion revenue on a contact center product and writes a blog post so self-congratulatory it reads like they're nominating themselves for sainthood. Meanwhile, competitors are quietly wondering if those 12 billion AI-optimized minutes are actually just glorified IVR menus with better marketing. How Indeed scaled governance across 1,000 AWS accounts with AWS Trusted Advisor. Indeed discovered 44% of their RDS instances were idle, costing them actual money while doing literally nothing. Turns out when you give teams 1,000 AWS accounts with zero oversight, they rack up bills like it's monopoly money. At least they're making lemonade by turning their expensive lesson into a case study. Improper authentication token handling in the Amazon Workspaces client for Linux. Local privilege escalation via token leakage? This feature sucks. Wait, it's not a feature, it's a fundamental auth failure. 2 years of shipping broken token handling suggests nobody was actually reviewing the Linux client code. Patch immediately, and then ask why this took until 2025 to fix. How Omnissa saved millions by migrating to Amazon RDS and Amazon EC2. Broadcom jacked up VMware prices so high that re-architecting thousands of instances across 10 regions became the cheaper option. That's not a customer success story, that's a hostage negotiation with a happy ending. The Swift AWS Lambda runtime moves to AWS Labs. 7 years of community work, now conveniently branded as AWS Innovation. The runtime's good. Note that Swift really does crush Lambda cold starts. I will say, though, watching AWS adopt successful open source projects after the heavy lifting is done never gets old. And finally, one more CVE with a bunch of numbers. RES Web Portal may display preview of virtual desktops that the user shouldn't have access to. Nothing says secure research environment like accidentally live streaming your colleague's desktop to whoever bothers to check. I'm just surprised they didn't market this as a free show for authenticated users with curiosity and zero boundaries. And that's what happened last week in AWS. I'm Corey Quinn. Stick around.